A young boy once dreamed that 11 stars, the sun, and the moon bowed to him. His brothers tried to kill him for it. 40 years later, they're about to make that exact dream come true, without even knowing it. Welcome back to Khaiir Ummah. In the palace of Egypt, where dreams determined the fate of nations and a Hebrew prophet controlled the world's grain supply, a family torn apart by jealousy was about to be reunited by divine providence. Today, we'll witness the most extraordinary revelation in history, where Joseph's childhood vision becomes reality and forgiveness triumphs over 4 decades of guilt.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له شهادة ننجو بها يوم الدين وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أحسن الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي سيدنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أوصيكم يا عباد الله ونفسي بتقوى الله العظيم وطاعته ولزوم أوامره وكثرة مخافته.
With his innocence proven, the king was amazed. And the king said, "Bring him to me, I will appoint him exclusively for myself." And when he spoke to him, he said, "Indeed, you are today established in position and trusted." Joseph said, "Appoint me over the storehouses of the land. Indeed, I will be a knowing guardian." When Joseph finally stood before the king, his wisdom was immediately evident. The king declared, "You are established in position and trusted, meaning, I will make him among my special ones, among the notables of my state, and among the distinguished of my court." But Joseph made a request. "Put me in charge of the nation's food supply. I am a knowledgeable guardian." Joseph wasn't just asking for freedom. He was asking to lead Egypt's survival strategy. He requested to be appointed over the granaries, knowing that after 7 years of prosperity would come 7 years of devastating famine. He sought this not for himself, but to serve Allah's creation, through precaution, fairness, and kindness. He informed the king he was a guardian, strong in preserving what was entrusted, trustworthy over it, and knowledgeable in managing resources and the interests of the people. Allah had orchestrated everything perfectly, and thus we established Joseph in the land, to settle therein wherever he willed. We touch with our mercy whom we will, and we do not allow to be lost the reward of those who do good. And the reward of the hereafter is better for those who believed and were fearing Allah. The king greatly honored Joseph, giving him authority over all Egypt, clothing him with his ring, dressing him in silk, adorning him with gold, and proclaiming before him, "You are a lord and ruler." The king said, "I am not greater than you except by the throne." Joseph was 30 years old when he rose to power. The forgotten prisoner had become the second most powerful man in Egypt. But this was just the beginning. Joseph's greatest test was about to arrive. 7 years of abundance passed exactly as Joseph predicted. Then came the famine, spreading across all lands. Even Joseph's family in Canaan was affected. And the brothers of Joseph came, seeking food, and they entered upon him, and he recognized them, but he was to them unknown. Allah the Exalted informs about the arrival of Joseph's brothers, peace be upon him, to the Egyptian lands, seeking provisions, and that was after the years of drought had come and spread over all lands and people. Joseph recognized them immediately, but they had no idea the powerful Egyptian official was their brother. When they prostrated before him as was customary, Joseph recognized them and spoke harshly, "You are spies who have come to learn about my lands." They protested, "God forbid, we only came seeking provisions. We are sons of one father from Canaan, 12 men total. One has gone, and our youngest is with our father." Joseph said, "I must verify your matter," and imprisoned them for 3 days, then released them, but kept Simeon as a pledge, so they would bring him the other brother. Joseph gave them provisions but made a crucial demand. And when he had furnished them with their supplies, he said, "Bring me a brother of yours from your father. Do not you see that I give full measure, and that I am the best of accommodators? But if you do not bring him to me, no measure will there be, hereafter, for you from me, nor will you approach me." Joseph insisted they bring Benjamin. He used both encouragement, "I treat you well," and intimidation, "No provisions if you don't bring him," to ensure they would return with Benjamin. The brothers had no choice. They said, "We will attempt to dissuade his father from keeping him, and indeed we will do it." They promised to convince their father Jacob to send Benjamin, though they knew how protective he was of his youngest son. But Joseph had one more surprise for them, and said to his servants, "Put their merchandise into their saddlebags, so they might recognize it when they have gone back to their people, that perhaps they will again return." Joseph secretly returned their payment. This was bundles of silver. When they discovered this back home, they would realize the Egyptian ruler's extraordinary generosity and be more motivated to return. Think about this moment. They had no idea that the powerful ruler showing them mercy was the boy they had thrown into a pit years ago. The brothers faced an impossible choice: return empty-handed and watch their families starve, or ask Jacob to trust them with another beloved son. The same brothers who had already betrayed him once before. They had promised the Egyptian ruler they would return with Benjamin, but they had no idea how to persuade Jacob. When they returned home with their provisions, they had to deliver devastating news. So when they returned to their father, they said, "O our father, further measure has been denied to us. So send with us our brother, that we will be given measure. And indeed, we will be his guardians." They told Jacob, "No food unless we bring Benjamin. We promise to protect him this time." But how do you convince a father to risk losing his other son? Jacob's response shattered their false confidence. He said, "Should I entrust you with him except under coercion, as I entrusted you with his brother before? But Allah is the best guardian, and he is the most merciful of the merciful. Should I trust you with Benjamin like I trusted you with Joseph?" Each word was a dagger. They couldn't escape what they'd done. Every promise they made reminded Jacob of their lies. But what the brothers didn't know was that this Egyptian ruler was testing them for a reason they could never imagine. Then they found something that changed everything. And when they opened their baggage, they found their merchandise returned to them. They said, "O our father, what more could we desire? This is our merchandise returned to us, and we will obtain supplies for our family and protect our brother and obtain an increase of a camel's load." That is an easy measurement. All their silver was returned. "Father, look, he gave us free food and returned our money. This ruler is incredibly generous. We'll bring supplies for everyone, plus an extra load of grain." Jacob was torn between his family's survival and his fear of losing another son. Jacob said, "Never will I send him with you until you give me a promise by Allah that you will bring him back to me, unless you should be surrounded by enemies." And when they had given their promise, he said, "Allah, over what we say, is witness." Jacob gave them one final instruction: enter Egypt through different gates, not together. Scholars suggest this was to avoid the evil eye due to their handsome appearance. But Jacob knew the truth. "I cannot protect you from Allah's decree. Only Allah controls what happens." What Jacob didn't know was that his beloved son Joseph was orchestrating everything from his palace in Egypt. The moment Joseph had dreamed of for decades finally arrived. And when they entered upon Joseph, he took his brother to himself. He said, "Indeed, I am your brother, so do not despair over what they used to do to me." Joseph pulled Benjamin aside privately. "I am your brother Joseph. Don't grieve over what they did to me." Imagine Benjamin's shock. The most powerful man in Egypt was his lost brother. Joseph had to keep Benjamin with him legally. According to Egyptian law, there was only one way, so when he had furnished them with their supplies, he put the gold measuring bowl into the bag of his brother. Joseph placed his royal measuring cup into Benjamin's bag. This wasn't random. This was Allah's plan to reunite the family, as the Quran explicitly states. As the brothers prepared to leave, Joseph's plan unfolded. Then an announcer called out, "O caravan, indeed you are thieves." They said while approaching them, "What is it you are missing?" They said, "We are missing the measure of the king. And for he who produces it is the reward of a camel's load, and I am responsible for it." "You are thieves." The brothers spun around in shock. "What's missing?" "The king's measuring cup. Whoever returns it gets a reward." The brothers were genuinely outraged. "By Allah, we're not thieves. You know we came for food, not trouble." Their protest was completely sincere. They had no idea what was happening. The accusers demanded consequences. "What happens if you're lying?" The brothers, confident in their innocence, declared, "Whoever has it becomes a slave. That's our law for thieves." They had just sealed Benjamin's fate with their own words. The search began with calculated precision. Joseph's men knew exactly where to find the cup, but they had to make it look completely fair and legitimate. They searched other bags first. Nothing. Then Benjamin's bag. Out came the golden cup. Allah had made this possible. Joseph could only keep Benjamin because the brothers themselves agreed to the punishment. Joseph could never have kept Benjamin under Egyptian law. Instead of defending Benjamin, the brothers said something heartbreaking. If Benjamin steals, his brother Joseph stole before him too. Joseph controlled his emotions and thought silently, "You are worse than him, and Allah knows what you're really like." Desperate, the brothers begged, "Take one of us instead. He has an old father who loves him." But Joseph replied, "Allah forbid. I can only take the one caught with my property. Taking someone else would be unjust." When they despaired, Reuben stepped forward. "Didn't you swear to bring him back? I'm staying here until father permits me to leave." With Benjamin captured and their oath to Jacob broken, the brothers faced catastrophe. The eldest brother, Reuben, spoke the painful truth. "We swore by Allah, and we've already failed once with Joseph. I can't face father again. I'm staying here until he forgives me or Allah decides my fate." The remaining brothers had to deliver devastating news. They told Jacob that Benjamin had been caught stealing and was being held as a slave according to Egyptian law. They insisted they were only reporting what they had witnessed with their own eyes, and that they had no knowledge of hidden matters. To prove their truthfulness, they told Jacob he could ask anyone in the Egyptian city where it happened, or question the merchants in the caravan who had traveled with them. Everyone would confirm their account. Jacob's reaction revealed his prophetic wisdom. "Your souls have deceived you into another scheme. I'll be patient. Perhaps Allah will bring them all back to me." Losing Benjamin ripped open wounds Jacob had suppressed for decades. He turned away, weeping bitterly. Oh, my sorrow over Joseph. The fresh loss awakened old agony. Years of hidden pain poured out. His eyes turned white from endless tears. Watching their father break before their eyes, the brothers pleaded in genuine fear, "By Allah, you'll never stop remembering Joseph, until you die from grief." For the first time, their concern was real. Their father was fading away, consumed by sorrow. But Jacob's reply revealed the secret strength of a prophet's heart. "I complain only to Allah, not to you, not to anyone, and I know from Allah what you do not know." Then came his shocking command. "Go, search for Joseph and his brother. Do not despair of Allah's mercy, for only the disbelievers despair of relief from Allah." Jacob's command to search for Joseph echoed in their minds. They stood before Joseph with worn-out sacks, damaged ropes, and worthless goods. They said, "Hardship has hit our family. We brought whatever we could find. Please be charitable to us and return our brother." The moment he had imagined for decades had finally arrived. He could no longer contain the secret. Joseph revealed his face, showing them the distinctive mark they would recognize. "Do you know what you did to Joseph and his brother when you were ignorant?" The brothers stared in disbelief. The voice, the face, the words. It couldn't be possible. "Are you really Joseph?" They had stood before him countless times, never recognizing that their provider was their victim. Joseph's response would heal decades of family trauma. "I am Joseph. This is my brother Benjamin. Allah has blessed us both. Whoever fears Allah and remains patient, Allah never wastes the reward of those who do good." Reality hit them like lightning. Every cruel word, every lie, every moment they had stood before him unknowingly, it all crashed down. "By Allah, Allah has favored you above us. We have been sinners." No excuses, no justifications, just the raw truth of their guilt. Then Joseph spoke words that would echo through history as the ultimate example of forgiveness. "No blame on you today. May Allah forgive you. He is the most merciful." When Joseph revealed himself, he asked about their father's condition. They told him Jacob had been overwhelmed with grief since Benjamin's capture, and his eyes had grown dim from constant weeping. Joseph then performed an act that would restore more than just their relationship. "Take my shirt, place it on my father's face. His sight will return, then bring our entire family here." Meanwhile, miles away in Canaan, something extraordinary happened. Before any messenger arrived, Jacob suddenly stopped and lifted his head. "I can smell Joseph's scent. I would say he's alive." if you didn't think I was losing my mind." Islamic scholars report that a divine wind carried Joseph's scent across 8 days of travel. The father's heart recognized what his eyes could not see. Jacob's family thought grief had finally broken his mind. "By Allah, you're still caught in your old delusion about Joseph." They thought Jacob was losing his sanity. They had no idea he was receiving divine revelation. When the messenger finally arrived with Joseph's shirt, a miracle occurred. The instant the shirt touched Jacob's face, his sight returned completely. "Didn't I tell you? I know from Allah what you don't know." The father who had lost his sight from crying over Joseph regained it through Joseph's own shirt. Seeing their father's sight restored and knowing Joseph was alive, the brothers finally understood the magnitude of their sins. "Father, ask Allah to forgive our sins. We have been wrongdoers." Jacob replied, "I will ask my Lord to forgive you. He is the forgiving, the merciful." Islamic scholars report that Jacob delayed this prayer until dawn, the time when supplications are most accepted. Finally, after decades of separation, the moment of complete reunion arrived. When they reached Joseph, he embraced his parents privately and said, "Enter Egypt, by Allah's will, in complete safety." Then came the moment that fulfilled a dream from 40 years earlier. Joseph seated his parents on his throne, then his parents and 11 brothers, all prostrated to him in honor and respect. The young boy's dream had become reality. The 11 stars, the sun, and the moon had bowed before him. Joseph finally understood the complete picture of Allah's plan. "Father, this is the interpretation of my childhood dream. Allah made it come true. He was good to me, taking me from prison to power, bringing you from the desert after Satan caused division between me and my brothers. Allah is subtle in his planning. He is all-knowing, all-wise. The boy who was thrown into a pit had become the ruler who saved nations. The dream that caused jealousy had become the reunion that healed everything." Some scholars report the separation lasted 40 years. Others say 80. But regardless of the time, Allah's promise was fulfilled perfectly. At the height of his success, with his family reunited and his nation prosperous, Joseph made a prayer that revealed his ultimate priorities. "My Lord, you gave me power and taught me to interpret dreams. Creator of all that exists, you are my guardian in this world and the next. Let me die as a Muslim and join me with the righteous." The man who had everything, power, wealth, family, honor, asked for only one thing: to die faithful and be with the righteous. Joseph understood that worldly success means nothing without spiritual success. The ruler of Egypt's greatest desire was to remain Allah's servant. This prayer shows us that no matter how high we rise in this world, our ultimate goal should be pleasing Allah and joining the righteous in the next life. But this wasn't the end of Joseph's story. His legacy would continue through his descendants, and his example would inspire believers for all time. The boy who was sold as a slave had become a prophet, whose story teaches us that Allah's plan is always perfect, even when we can't see it. What started with jealousy ended with forgiveness. What began with a dream concluded with divine wisdom. And what seemed like a tragedy became the greatest blessing for an entire family and nation. If witnessing Joseph's journey from betrayal to forgiveness has revealed how Allah transforms our darkest trials into our greatest triumphs, show your support by liking this video. Subscribe and hit the bell, because these divine stories are roadmaps for navigating life's most impossible tests with faith intact. This completes Joseph's epic saga, but next week we begin the story of Prophet Ayub, peace be upon him, whose patience through unimaginable loss will redefine what it means to trust Allah when everything you love is taken away. Until we meet again, may Allah grant us Joseph's heart to forgive those who wronged us, his wisdom to see divine purpose in every pain, and his certainty that the one who planned our trials has already planned our triumph. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.